After mentoring over 100 composers and writing for ensembles like the Los Angeles Philharmonic, I've identified exactly which steps lead directly to live performances by soloists, ensembles, choirs, and even orchestras. So in this video, I'm going to show you the practical, straightforward roadmap I'd follow if I was starting all over again in 2025. So let's begin with our first step that's going to enable you to get 10 times more performances this year. Now, many composers feel like they need permission or the perfect idea before they start writing music. But waiting around won't help you improve. Think of composing like learning to ride a bike. You can't get better by just reading manuals on how to do it. You have to actually get on and start pedaling, even if you wobble a bit at first. So the first thing I'd recommend is just start composing. It doesn't have to be great. It's okay if nobody hears it yet. At this early stage, what matters most is building the habit and learning to trust yourself. And no amount of reading theory books or orchestration textbooks can replace having quiet, focused time to explore your own musical ideas, no matter how unsure you feel initially about them. Please prioritize this composing time. Aim for 2 hours a day if possible, but even starting with 30 minutes consistently will make a huge difference. Great, so now that you've committed to composing around 2 hours a day, the big question becomes, what exactly are you going to compose? Now, your first instinct might be to dive straight into writing for orchestra. After all, who wouldn't want to follow in the footsteps of big orchestral composers like Beethoven, Mahler, or even Leonard Bernstein? And I absolutely get it. Writing orchestral music is incredibly exciting. I've had the privilege of composing for orchestras like the American Composers Orchestra, the New Jersey Symphony, the Hangzhou Philharmonic, and it truly is an amazing experience. There's no doubt about that. But here's the reality. Jumping straight into orchestral writing isn't always the best way forward. Writing for orchestra requires not just technical skill, but also a strong reputation and experience in the field. So if I were starting fresh in 2025, here's what I'd do instead. I'd begin by mastering solo pieces, especially those written on a single staff line, like the violin, flute, trumpet, trombone, tuba. Really, any of those would work really, really well. And from there, I'd gradually expand duos, trios, quartets, and beyond. Think about it. Some of the most iconic pieces ever written, think Bach's cello suites, think Paganini's Caprices. These are all solo works. And notice, they're not just stepping stones, they're masterpieces in their own right. And by starting small and gradually building up, you'll steadily develop your musical toolbox. You'll gain confidence thinking, hey, I've written for violin already. Now I can handle violin and piano. And eventually, I'm comfortable with smaller ensembles. Now I'm ready for something bigger, like an orchestra. And through this process, you'll also develop your own musical voice, mastering essential elements like melody, harmony, rhythm, timbre, and form. The skills every composer needs to create music that stands out and gets performed in today's concert music world. Now, step 3 is going to tackle one of the biggest challenges composers face today, and is going to enable you to improve 5 times faster. And it works like this. If you're building a career as a concert composer in 2025, isolation can be especially brutal. It eats away at your confidence, separates you from the broader musical community, and makes you feel like you're writing in a vacuum. So if I were starting fresh in 2025, I'd make it a priority to actively connect with other composers and musicians right from the start. I'd look for local communities or groups where people share my passion for concert music. And you can easily do this, by the way, by attending small concerts, especially those intimate performances where conversations are more likely to just naturally happen. Or you can find free recitals hosted by your local university music department. The key really is to start somewhere, no matter how small, and let your community grow from there. And here's the truth. You don't improve in isolation. Rather, you'll grow faster, gain confidence, and become a stronger composer when you're regularly interacting with people who care about music as deeply as you do. After all, these connections help you find your blind spots, refine your skills, and keep you inspired and motivated along your composing journey. Now, step 4 is one that most composers skip, even though it's the thing that often makes the biggest difference in how far their music actually goes. See, a lot of composers, and I see this all the time, wait until a piece is finished before bringing anyone else into the process. But by then, it's usually too late to make meaningful changes without second-guessing everything. Instead, seek feedback from someone you trust while you're still writing, right in the middle of your creative process. Now, when you do this, your mind stays sharp and you're aware of exactly why you're making each musical decision. You'll be able to clearly explain your choices to the person giving feedback, and this dialogue will give you greater clarity about your own composing process. Now, here's something important to remember. You don't have to follow every piece of advice exactly. Sometimes feedback you disagree with can still spark fresh ideas or inspire a new direction you might not have considered otherwise. And I can't tell you how many times my students heard a piece of feedback that I gave them and then went off and did their own thing that was better than the thing that I suggested that they do. But if they didn't hear my initial suggestion, they wouldn't have came up with the thing that they ultimately came up with. So ultimately, this ongoing dialogue, it helps you discover and refine your personal musical voice. And that unique voice is exactly what makes musicians excited to perform your work live. Now, this next step I'm about to show you is powerful. And after embracing it, my students wasted far less time trying to figure out their artistic voice, which in turn led to things like acceptances into festivals and winning calls for scores. This is really important because developing a clear, authentic voice is one of the biggest keys to becoming a composer whose work gets performed regularly. Now, here's the secret. Don't try to study every major composer in the canon. Please don't do that, because that completist mindset will only slow you down and dilute your creative energy. Instead, study the music you genuinely love, even if it's music no one else seems to understand. Whether it's music from the French Baroque or the Second Viennese School or even third stream jazz, it really honestly doesn't matter. Build a personal collection of scores and recordings that truly excite you and dive deep into understanding exactly why they resonate with you. Now, let me give you an example from one of my students. One of his biggest musical heroes is the guitarist Frank Zappa, who beyond his famous rock songs actually wrote quite a bit of concert music. But when I asked him why he wasn't incorporating Zappa's musical mannerisms into his own compositions, he told me something odd. He said that if he did that, he would be writing in a way that was inappropriate for him to be getting the kind of opportunities that he was hoping to get in the concert music field. Now, I shut this idea down immediately as soon as I heard it, and instead I encouraged him to do the exact opposite. Rather than hiding his influences, he should embrace them fully and identify precisely what he loved about that music. Whether it was Zappa's melodies, harmonies, rhythms, timbres, or even the overall philosophy behind it. Fast forward just a few months and his new music, now authentically reflecting the influences he truly loves, is being premiered in New York, the Netherlands, and he just got accepted into a very prestigious concert music festival here in the United States. And here's the kicker. This was a festival he had applied to at least a couple of times before with no success until he embraced this new approach. So the bottom line is this: please don't shy away from what inspires you. Lean into it. Your authentic voice, it's your greatest asset as a composer and the fastest way to getting your music performed. Now let's move on to step 6, which is going to enable you to get past your imposter syndrome by dialing down your literal writing process. And even in 2025, with all the amazing tech, AI tools, and powerful notation software available, I still strongly recommend starting your compositions with, yes, pencil and paper. Now, why do I suggest pencil and paper? Because writing by hand slows you down in a good way. It moves you out of your head and into your physical body. Writing physically helps you develop muscle memory for musical gestures you genuinely love. It allows you to feel the music you're creating rather than just seeing notes that look good on a screen. Start on paper first, then move to the computer. This simple habit will give you more clarity, deeper musical insight, and ultimately just make you feel like much more confident as a composer. And finally, step 7, and really for all this to work, this whole process is supposed to be fun. And yes, building these habits and practices takes time and effort. But at the end of the day, creating concert music that you truly believe in, music that gets performed, commissioned, and shared, it's one of the most rewarding experiences you can have as a composer. And here's the most important part. If it ever stops being fun, that's your signal that something's off track. Now, if anything I've shared here resonates with you, I invite you to check out this video right here. It's going to give you even more clarity and inspiration on your composing journey.